Joey Lucci, lead college football analyst, PhilSteele.com. Joey, I hope you're doing well, man. Welcome into the game in T-Town.
Man, I'm doing great. I'm looking for another great weekend of football action. But you know what, Ryan, I've got to say this before I get on, or before we get rolling, I should say. We already on. My thoughts and prayers go out to everybody dealing with that Hurricane Matthew. I know it's affected the college, sports end of it and other sports in as well, too. But the more important thing, get everybody safe and sound away from that storm. And so you could, it's just stuff like that, it just puts kind of things in perspective a little bit,
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
It
feels like, but, sports is such a outlet for many of us. And
absolutely.
You go back and you look at that LSU and Florida game. I'm sure you've probably heard, but there's a little bickering going back and forth, rescheduling, talking about postponing it. They thought about moving it to another day this weekend, but they've totally canceled it, and they're even looking at rescheduling according to some. And then LSU's like, no, we hadn't talked about rescheduling. What are you talking about? Because, these teams are trying to fight their way to Atlanta. I'm not sure LSU's going to be able to bounce back. I don't know if Florida's going to bounce back, but you look at Tennessee with a couple of very difficult games. If they lose to Texas A&M, they lose to Alabama. Now Florida's in the driver's seat in the SEC East.
Yeah, that's you start looking at it from that kind of perspective and how that game can be affected. I mean, obviously it should be played, I believe. Where they find the time to play it, or it's weird to me. Everybody else seems to be adjusting. You got guys, you have some of the schools changing to Friday, today. You've got some schools playing now on Sunday. Not sure what the big deal is, why, if they can do it, why you can't do it. You know what I'm saying, right? So I'm not sure what's going on. So.
Well, and I think it goes back to the SEC office. Somebody should have, when you got two guys like assistant coaches that are bickering back and forth, you always go back to the head guy, right? The head coach. Okay, now then
Absolutely.
You make the decision. So you need the commissioner in the SEC to stand up. Joey, this is a great week of college football. It's always week. I mean, every week in college football is great, but there's some pretty intriguing matchups here. What's the number one game that sort of grabs your attention?
Well, I think it's that Tennessee A&M game. When I'm starting to look at it, the Houdini Act at Tennessee, the Copperfield, the David Blaine, whatever magician, rabbit out of the hat you want to pull, that's Tennessee this year. But they're standing undefeated. That's the amazing thing. The team that's dealing with all this adversity, throwing last-minute Hail Marys to win games, and now you're playing Texas A&M. And when you look at A&M, okay, it was a team that I looked at and I said they could be possibly the second-best team in the SEC right now. But they've been here and done this before. They've already had this course. They've been undefeated at this point in the season. It's the second half, and it starts with Tennessee. Now, I fully anticipate when I look at this that Tennessee is at A&M, and then they get to host Bama, and there's a bye. So right now, if you're a Vol fan, just turn the radio down for about 10 seconds. I look at Tennessee as a 5-2 team at the bye week, and that means it starts this week. I think those things that they had, the luck that they've had, I think the next 2 weekends, I don't think there's going to be much luck because I really do. I'm buying into this A&M team. I think that they're very talented. I think they exposed Tennessee just like Ole Miss exposed Georgia when we saw it that one week, and I think A&M does that to Tennessee this week. And then, we'll talk about the week after that, obviously, where they're headed to or where Alabama's headed to. But I fully anticipate that this weekend for Tennessee.
Yeah, and this Texas A&M team, are you buying that they're a real top 10 team? Because we've seen some hot starts from Kevin Sumlin before.
Yeah, and we talked about that. And I think that, I do. I think they have the talent. Obviously, with Myles Garrett on the D-line and the pressure that they can put on the quarterback, defensively, I think they're a team that nobody's really kind of, you're like, okay, are they really that good? Because they've been here, they've done that before, but I think that, like I said, I think the way they're winning, and I think the way Tennessee's winning, and when they come to, playing each other, I think there's a bigger discrepancy here, even though they're both undefeated and they're coming into this game, and this is going to be a huge game record-wise when you look at it. I give a little bit more of an edge to A&M right now because of what they've been able to do this year, and that means for Kevin Sumlin to kind of get over that hump. You're 5-0, you're 6-0, but then you end the year 8-4 or 7-5. It's like, So I think that's you got to start somewhere, and I think it starts this weekend. And then I think we see Tennessee, who's talented. Don't get me wrong. I like what Butch Jones is doing. I just think they go through a little bit of a tailspin. They get that bye week, a much-needed bye week, just forecasting it and looking at the future. and then I think they'll be okay after that. But I think it'll be a rough couple weeks for the Vols.
But Joey, help me understand this, because what we do throughout the week, you sort of set the stage on a Friday. You give the Lucci locks, and I told the audience before I brought you on, you have been smoking hot with your picks. I mean, I think I look back, I think you've only missed you pushed one, you had one that was a tie. I don't think you've missed maybe one, maybe two games throughout. Man, you've been riding this Western Michigan team here for a couple of weeks. Now they're in the top 25 in one of the polls. So, but I go back here for just a couple of minutes. We set our parlay picks, and we let people choose their games. They pick against the spread, and we give away a huge prize package. But I always watch, if the public goes one way, you should go the other way, right? I mean, isn't that sort of the common trend?
It's what I've been taught, because, if you follow the public, you're going to live with the public, so to speak. And that, and that's what it's like. If you listen to the fans, if you're a coach, you'll be in the seat with the fans. It's kind of that whole same thing. So yeah, most of the time it is to go against, I guess, what they call Joe Public, and kind of buck the trend a little bit that way. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Well, here's the reason why I'm saying this, because everybody this week. They love Texas A&M, and that almost scares me a little bit.
I know, and it does. And I'm gonna if it's Joe Pub, I'm jumping on their train then with them, and I'm gonna lead the pack. But,
all right, Joey's up front, but I'm blowing the horn. Okay.
Sometimes Joe Public is right. They're not always wrong.
Right.
Most of the time, but sometimes they are. I think they're right in this case. I really do feel that A&M exposes Tennessee this weekend at Kyle Field.
All right, let's stay in the SEC. Let's talk about this Crimson Tide team. It's a top 20 matchup between Alabama and Arkansas. Nick Saban has never lost to Arkansas. Alabama hasn't lost to Arkansas since 2006. I mean, that was back before we had iPhones and all that, right? I mean, and we'll say it again next week, because Tennessee hadn't beat Alabama in a long time either. But Arkansas, a okay team. Ranked here in the top 20. What do you see in this football team there in Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Well, the last time Arkansas beat Alabama, I think you paged me, Ryan.
yeah, I think I did.
When I start looking at this, I always look at why one team will win, why another team will win. And when I looked at Arkansas and I said, okay, why is Arkansas? Why can they beat Alabama? And I look at it, what has been Alabama's biggest kryptonite? Maybe Ole Miss. Beside Ole Miss, it's been Brett Bielema's teams here at Arkansas. And for whatever reason, they grind the game down, they shorten it up. That's been a little bit of a problem for the Tide the last couple seasons with them. Plus, remember, Arkansas is a big team on, controlling the clock with the time of possession. I think they're 34 minutes a game plus or something like right now. If they're able to do that, I think that they've got a great shot at not only keeping close, but winning this ball game. But then I look at Alabama, and I'm like, okay, the adversity that they felt. The Ole Miss, the first half, I think that seems like it's been 3 years ago, but they've dealt with that. The O-line, when I'm looking at it, maybe not up to what I think Alabama's O-line should be up to, but the defensive front, maybe the best I've seen, I don't know ever, but the defense itself, and amazing. Now, the one thing that I think they're doing this year that nobody's really looking at, they're moving some chains. They're grinding out. They're having those longer drives. They're converting on third down. And don't forget, Arkansas, I think they're giving up close to 50% on third down conversion. So if Bama could march this game, I think it could be a long day for the Hogs. Now, when I look at it and I broke it down, I looked at this. Arkansas played Texas A&M, and I know Austin Allen's a great quarterback there over at Arkansas. He's got 10 touchdowns with 0 interceptions last 4 games. But they're going to have a very inexperienced O-line. And unfortunately, they are losing their center, I believe, this Saturday. Unfortunately, his father passed. I don't know if he's playing in the game or not, but if he doesn't, that's even going to create more of a hectic thing. He took a physical beating against Texas A&M. So if he takes a beating against Texas A&M, he's going to take even a more physical beating, in my mind, against Alabama. They stalled against them. They couldn't get things going against Louisiana Tech. I don't think they've found their groove, so to speak, or their niche, or whatever you want to call it, for Arkansas. And it's hard to do that against this Alabama. But I think the biggest key when you look at this game will be Jalen Hurts against that D-line of Arkansas, who is struggling. Now, don't forget, when they played Alabama, Trevor Knight ran for a couple long touchdown runs. I think Jalen Hurts, I think he can go and go and go. And I think that puts a lot of pressure on that defensive front for Arkansas. And then I see them down by, some points. And when I throw this all together, I've got a 14-point win for Alabama. I've got Alabama 34, I've got Arkansas 20, and I think Hurts would be the key with his being able to run, control the game, extend drives on third down, and kind of expose a little bit of what I call the weakness of Arkansas, and that's that D line where they've struggled. And, if Trevor Knight can do it, okay, Jalen Hurts is in my opinion, much better athlete than he is. I think it could end up being maybe a long day for Arkansas. I still think this is a one-score game in the second half, but I think Alabama pulls away late. That's why I've got Alabama 34, Arkansas 20.
We're talking to Joey Lucci right now in the game here in T-Town on Tide 102.9 and Tide1029.com, the home of Alabama sports. Florida State and Miami, a top 25 game, and quietly the Miami Hurricanes are in this conversation. Undefeated, top 10 team. Mark Richt, first-year head coach there in Miami, leaving from Georgia. We know the story there, and I'm sure that burns them up that he's sitting there with a top 10 team. But you look at Miami, could this team be a contender here in the next few weeks?
No, I think they can. I had him as a Lucci lock last week, and I looked at it. Although they got fortunate. They did have a couple of defensive touchdowns against Georgia Tech there. And then you've got a Florida State team who, let's just face it, maybe very overrated. I mean, if you said this team was going to be 3-2 with losses to North Carolina and Louisville. Now, granted, that's the Louisville before we even knew that Lamar Jackson was put up the video games. You would have said, no way they're going to be 3-2. So I really do like with this Miami Florida team. And Brad Kaya is a quarterback that you better get to know. He's big, he's physical, he'll be playing at the next level, and I like what he's doing here. And plus, with Mark Richt at the helm, I love it when head coaches go back to their alma mater. It's just something a little special there. And now they get to host Florida State. But, the advantage might be Florida State here coming off that loss to North Carolina, going on the road and stuff like that, too. I think this will be one of those old-school Florida State-Miami kind of back-and-forth games. Why do I see this thing being decided by a late field goal, maybe a turnover? But I've got to give the edge to Miami of Florida. And here's the thing. Are we going to start talking about Jimbo Fisher being on the hot seat if Florida State loses this week? They'll be a 3-3 ball club, Ryan. Isn't that amazing? A team that some people had winning the national title could be 3-3 at midway point.
Well, the hot seat is going to be hot at a lot of different places, and I'm going to take you to 11 o'clock game tomorrow morning. Texas 2-2. It was Texas was the flavor of the week. What, about 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Now they're 2-2, and Charlie Strong needs a win against against Oklahoma.
Yeah, and it's like a flavor of ice cream that you just left out, and it's just not good anymore. You're like, whoa, okay, wait a minute. It tasted great the first couple weeks. I mean, this is a team that beat Notre Dame in 2 overtimes week 1, and we were like, oh my, Texas drove in the playoffs. This is great. And now we've got some problems where they can't even get on track with the staff. And when I start seeing things like that, it starts to bother me a little bit when I go, okay, you've got to have the consistency from the coaching staff. That's got to be all on the same rhythm, and then that'll kind of translate with the players. That's not happening with Texas. And now you're facing your biggest opponent, your rival opponent at the Red River Rivalry in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma looks like, we're 2-2. We took care of business against TCU. The opponents that they lost to, Houston and Ohio State, you can kind of see how they've lost to them now. But then when you start looking at Texas, the Notre Dame win right now, didn't Notre Dame lose to Nevada? You're like, okay, you lost to California, you lost to Oklahoma State. Oh, no, now you've got Oklahoma. I mean, the wheels could come off real fast here. I think they're on 2 wheels with one flat and one about to go now. If they lose to Oklahoma, 2 more wheels are going to fall off this train. And there's a lot of things. I fully anticipate Oklahoma putting a hammer down on Texas, not only because I feel they're in a better situation right now, but also when you're in 2 rival games, you're not feeling sorry for the other team. I mean, does Alabama ever feel sorry for Auburn, vice versa? No. This is exactly that same kind of thing here. It's kind of like smelling blood in the water for Oklahoma, and if they have a chance to just bury Texas, they will.
And this is off the wall asking you about this question, but I look at Colorado and USC, and you say, Ron, what are you talking about those 2 games?
Oh.
Well, this is a top 25 game.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at USC is 2-3, Colorado's 21. USC is 2-3. If they go 2-4, Clay Helton may get the phone call.
Yeah, that's amazing that team. You talk about it, and I look at USC, and I'm like, all the talent in the world can't translate it on the field.
None.
They are probably you know what they are? USC is the college equivalent to the NFL's Dallas Cowboys. A lot of talent, perceived 8-8, right? I mean, that's just usually
I'm
what happens.
I'm a Cowboys guy. Hit me in the gut. Go ahead, Joey. Go ahead. Do it again. Do it again.
I do like that. But I'm kind of comparing that, and I'm like, they get the talent. It's an appealing place to play. It's just for whatever reason. And then we're talking about a Colorado school. If I said, I'll give you the records right now at the beginning of the year, you were like, no way, Colorado's 4-1 with their only loss being the undefeated Michigan. No way. And now they're going to USC. I'm going to call this, though. I think USC has enough to get by Colorado. I think they've got enough when they start looking at it going, we're just a better football team. Even though Colorado's much improved, I love what that program's doing. They're playing a backup quarterback this week, and I think USC gets it done. I think there's just too much talent there. Plus, you're going to the Coliseum, Colorado is, and, they got a 3-point win at Oregon, and Oregon's down a little bit. They did lose to Michigan on the road. So this will be a tough road test. But I tell you what, I'm with you. If USC loses, Florida State loses, Jimbo Fisher, they could be calling Helton. They could be talking about, hey, who's on the hotter seat here?
Charlie Strong. I mean, this may be what we call hot seat weekend or something. I mean, hey, Joey.
Charlie's already on it. He's already on it. He's
no. It's burning right now. And if he loses to Oklahoma, it will be. He won't be able to sit down. Let me take you one more quick game, and then I'll get your Lucci's locks. A game that it's about 100, not even that, 90 miles to the west of here, Starkville, Mississippi State, and Auburn tomorrow morning. If Auburn can find a way to win that, the schedule sort of sets up a little bit favor for them towards the back end. You look at Auburn and Mississippi State, it may not be on the radar on the national level, but it would be a big swing game for the Auburn Tigers.
Yeah, and their offense has been better than expected this year, and so is Mississippi State for that reason. But I still look at Mississippi State. Isn't this the same Mississippi State team that lost to South Alabama? And I start scratching, this is, and they struggled against Massachusetts right before the bye. You knew they were going to be down a little bit without Dak Prescott. But I think this is a game where if you're Auburn and you've got to get to that level where you perceive that, hey, we're headed in the right direction, you've got to win. You've had 5 straight home games. You're on the road for the first time. Any road win is big. I don't care if it's by 1 or by 20 in college football, but any road SEC win is even magnified greater. I think Auburn needs to come out and win, make a statement. There's nothing. They've got a bye week ahead, so lay it all on the line, and I think they do get the job done. I think they've got too much offense, and I still will back up that I think Mississippi State this year is going to have a struggling year because when you lose a caliber player like Dak Prescott like they have, I still think they're feeling a little bit of effects from that. So I think Auburn big this weekend. I really do.
Wow. All right, Joey Lucci, let's go. Lucci locks, man.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I've been riding that Western Michigan train, and you guys now are paying attention to the team. But I'm not going to have them as part of my Lucci locks this week. I'm going to go with 2 teams, and we're going to go out west. I'm going to call it Lucci's locks in the west. And I'm going to start off with the Utah Utes minus the 10. They're off a Cal loss at home. They're playing an Arizona team who's absolutely all banged up. Arizona was beat by UCLA, a very physical game last week. Now you're playing Utah, like I said, off that loss, and Utah's one of the more physical teams that you've never heard about in college football. They will hit you and keep on hitting you. So I love Utah minus the 10 to roll up on a banged-up Arizona team. And then we're going to stay out west, and we're going to go with the San Diego State team. And we're going to lay some numbers here. It's about 15.5, but they're playing UNLV, and I'm not really worried about that. San Diego State is off a horrible loss. And, in fact, we just talked about the team, South Alabama. They keep on biting. They bit Mississippi State. They bit San Jose State. But San Diego State has had 12 straight Mountain West wins, and they've got a running back by the name of Danielle Pumphrey, who's number 1 in the nation with 450 yards. And last week, he only had 151. I think he gets 200-plus against UNLV. He's a very talented running back. If you haven't seen this kid play, he is absolutely amazing. Reminds me of Marshall Faulk. I think he was pretty good. Didn't he play for San Diego State? So my Lucci locks are out west this week. We're going to stay with Utah minus 10 and San Diego State minus 15.5.